Alright everyone, welcome back. We are on the 4th episode of using every single gun for 100 kills. So if you're not already familiar with the series, basically I'm going through all the gun categories and I'm getting 100 kills with every gun in those categories. So we've already done the assault rifles and the battle rifles, and today we're moving on to the carbines. So there's 21 carbines total, so I'm going to split them into 2 videos. This video will include the first 11 and then I'll hopefully have the next video out very soon. But anyways, so far down the carbines, I've actually really enjoyed them. In fact, I enjoyed them a lot more than the assault rifles, and I thought the assault rifles were good. Personally, I think the carbines are a little bit underrated. I think a lot of people do prefer assault rifles to carbines, so I was kind of surprised to see myself actually enjoying the carbines more. And some of these guns can be flat out insane. But anyways, one more thing that I want to mention, guys, these videos take me about 10 hours in total to make because I have to use all the guns, which takes about 4 hours, and then editing in total is a lot, and then thumbnail and everything. So I put as much effort as I can into these, and I'd appreciate a like if you want to support the series. Anyways, that's it, so let's get right into the guns. Alright, so first we have the M4A1. So I started out with 2,060 kills with this, and my attachments were Cobra sight, compensator, folding grip, and full stock. So the M4A1 is, as you guys probably know, a very classic gun. You know, it's a rank 0, so pretty much everyone knows about this gun. Obviously, I do have a lot of kills with it for a good reason. You know, although it's a low rank, it's still very solid, I would say. I did really like this gun overall. You know, it does have pretty nice close range damage, but it doesn't have as much damage at long range, so I definitely preferred using this at close range. And also, we're going to see this with a lot of the carbines. They tend to be a lot more close range than long range. But yeah, anyways, with the M4A1, it also has a great fire rate, which does make it a very strong choice for CQC, and it doesn't have a lot of recoil either, so definitely a solid option. In terms of fun, I would probably rate this a 7 out of 10. But yeah, that was the M4A1. Alright, moving on to the next gun is going to be the G36K. And so I only had 208 kills on this, not very much. And my setup was reflex sight, muzzle brake, stubby grip, and green laser. And then I did throw on the .300 blackout conversion at the end, which I'll talk about in a sec. So I didn't really start out with a lot of kills on this, as I said. But honestly, it wasn't too bad. I actually enjoyed it a lot. It kind of has a little bit rough recoil at long range, but you know, it's overall pretty manageable up to medium range. So it's not really too much of an issue. It does have very good close range damage as well, and the damage ranges are also pretty good, and I would say fire rate also not that bad. So overall, I think this gun is very good. However, the kind of weird thing is that a lot of people prefer to use this with the .300 blackout conversion, and I tried it and I didn't like it for some reason. I'm not sure why. I mean, it does take away the 3-shot, which I'm not too much of a fan of, and I mean, I didn't really enjoy the recoil too much, so I think the long range damage didn't help me because I wasn't really interested in using it at long range anyways. So yeah, anyways, those are my thoughts on the G36K. Overall, I thought it was a fun gun to use as well. 7 out of 10. Nothing amazing, but definitely very good. Alright, so the next gun, we're going to move on to the M4. So I started with 220 kills on the M4, again, not a lot. And so for my setup, I used the coyote sight, muzzle brake, stubby grip, and then green laser. So if you don't know already, the M4 is a burst gun, and honestly, it's very hard to use. But if you use it effectively, it's very, very rewarding. And yeah, so let's break down the stats for this gun real quick. So it has 900 RPM fire rate, which is very good. 35 base damage as well, which allows for a 1 burst in CQC because the burst gives you 3 bullets per burst. So if you hit all those 3 bullets, then it basically is a 1-shot or like a 1 burst, so that does make it especially dominant at close range. However, the problem is that when you don't know how to burst the gun, it's just very hard to use, and on top of that, the uneven bursting causes the recoil to go up and down all the time because it does have an initial kick, and that kind of restarts every time you burst the gun, so it's a bit harder to control, especially if you aren't very good at bursting it. But overall, I think I wasn't perfect with it, but I can understand why a lot of people believe this gun is very good, and I did get some pretty good plays with this. I think you guys will see that I got a quad collat with it, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so I wouldn't really recommend it for beginners because, like I said, it's very hard to get the burst down, but it can be very good if you do get it down. Personally, I'm not very good with it, so I'm just gonna give it a 5 out of 10 on the fun scale, but opinions are opinions. Alright, moving on to the next gun is going to be the L22. So I started with 272 kills with this, and my setup was the reflex sight, compensator, stubby grip, and green laser. So honestly, I think I actually really enjoyed the L22. I think it did treat me very well, and I was noticing that it had a bit more side-to-side recoil, so I did use a compensator for that. It wasn't really as effective at medium or long range considering the recoil and its low damage, but it did do very well at close range. I especially like the fire rate being nearly 800, and for close range gunfights, fights, the recoil wasn't really an issue at all. I wouldn't say it was necessarily the best gun out there, but I honestly thought it was extremely fun to use. Like, I was just getting so many kills. But yeah, like I said, very fun. I'm gonna give it probably a 9 out of 10 on the fun scale. Yeah, I would recommend it, honestly. Okay, so for the next gun, it's going to be the Scar PDW, and I started with this gun with 418 kills, and the setup I used was reflex sight, long barrel, stubby grip, and then the full stock. So this gun was honestly pretty insane at close range. You know, the fact that you can get a 3-shot kill up to almost 75 studs makes it excellent at like CQC to mid-range, not to mention as well the 2-shot headshot. I think that's actually pretty crazy. However, the one drawback is kind of that the damage drop-off is pretty severe. It goes to a 6-shot at around like 200 studs, even with the long barrel, and the recoil doesn't really help it either. It's not the best recoil. So honestly, in my opinion, it's not really worth using at long range, but it does do very, very good at like close to medium range. The only other downsides I can find for this gun are like the 650 fire rate, which isn't really the best and kind of the slowest reload, but regardless, I thought it was very good overall. For some reason, I don't really enjoy using slower fire rate guns, so I'm only gonna give it a 6 out of 10 for fun. Definitely gonna change from person to person though. Alright, so the next gun is the AKU-12, and I started out with only 93 kills, which is not a lot at all, and the setup I used was reflex sight, long barrel, stubby grip, and full stock. And okay, so honestly, the AKU-12 for me was the best gun so far. I can't really find anything wrong with it, considering it's a 3-shot at close range. The damage ranges aren't so good, but it has an extremely good fire rate as well, 800 RPM, and the recoil is like almost non-existent at like pretty much the effective range. You're not going to notice anything at all, so it's definitely insane at close range. However, it's not the best at medium to long range, given the damage does fall off to a 6-shot, but overall it's actually super fun, and I don't know why no one uses this. I mean, I only had less than 100 kills, so it's kind of hard to know this gun exists because there's so many AKs, and I think people are just generally drawn to like AK-47 or AK-103 with bars barrel or stuff like that. Like, this gun kind of just goes under the radar, so I thought it was definitely like a lot better than what I thought it would be. But yeah, I did really enjoy this, and I'm actually going to give it a 10 out of 10 for fun. Alright, so the next gun is going to be the Groza 1. So I started out with 708 kills, pretty mediocre. And the setup I had on this was reflex sight, compensator, stubby grip, and green laser. And yeah, the Groza 1 actually shocked me with how surprisingly good it was. But I have heard from some people that it's good. I just don't really see a lot of people using it, in fact. But you know, the weird thing about the Groza is definitely its camera recoil. So the gun kind of seems to aim high and to the left. It's kind of weird, but the grouping is actually very good. If you don't know what I'm talking about, like, the camera is going to go a lot to like the top corner, but the bullets all go to the same place, so it kind of has recoil but not really. And the gun also has pretty good damage as well. There isn't actually a 3-shot, so it makes it a little bit less strong than some of the other carbines at CQC, but with the recoil being so accurate and the solid fire rate, it makes this gun very good at mid-range combat, and I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 for fun. Alright, next gun is the AK-12C. I only had 20 kills with this, and the setup I used was reflex sight, compensator, stubby grip, and green laser. Now, I really didn't enjoy the AK-12C for some odd reason. I think it was partly because the fire rate is a bit on the slower side, and the recoil is a bit on the higher side as well compared to other carbines. And the other reason is that, like, for whatever reason, when I was using this, the hit reg seemed completely off. Like, I felt like I'd be getting 4 to 5 hits on someone at close range, and they weren't dying. I'm not sure if it was my ping or something. Like, I checked my ping constantly and it was below 100, but I just for some reason was dying a lot instead of like my hits registering. So I don't know what that was. It kind of made me enjoy the gun less, but it is supposedly a 3-shot, but I wasn't really getting that very often. Overall, the gun stats do seem pretty decent, and I don't know, maybe I have to give this another try, but for the time being, it wasn't very fun to use, so I'm just gonna give it a 5 out of 10. But yeah, that was the AK-12C. Alright, next gun is going to be the Honey Badger. So I started out with 912 kills on the Honey Badger, and the setup I used was reflex sight, long barrel, folding grip, and full stock. And yeah, you know, I felt like the Honey Badger was actually pretty nice to use. Everything about it is just very solid, you know, 800 RPM fire rate, decent 4-shot range, manageable recoil, and pretty fast reload. I think the thing about this gun is that it doesn't really stand out among the other guns with anything really crazy good, but most things about it are, you know, good enough to make it a well-rounded gun. And I really like the integral suppressor. It's honestly just a super nice touch as well. I did have a lot of fun using this. I used to use it like a lot back in the day. I mean, I didn't use it a lot because I only have like 900 kills, but I did go to this gun occasionally, and I haven't really touched it in a while. So yeah, I did enjoy it. I'm gonna give it like an 8.5 out of 10 probably, you know, in terms of fun scale, of course. Alright, so the next gun is the K1A, and so I started with 264 kills with this. The setup I used was reflex sight, compensator, folding grip, and then green laser. So honestly, this gun to me seemed absolutely busted. It has a 900 RPM fire rate and can 4-shot all the way up to about 130 studs with like almost no recoil. So personally, I think that this is one of the best carbines out there, definitely the best for me, so far at least. And like the fact that it has a 900 fire rate just gives it an edge over pretty much all the other carbines, while still maintaining like actually pretty good damage and damage ranges as well. And I'll admit it's not the best to use at long range because the recoil does start to get a little bit questionable and it does drop off to a 6-shot, but there's no doubt that it's pretty much insane at close to mid-range and definitely going to be my favorite of the carbines so far. So 10 out of 10 on the fun scale. Good job, K1A. You're doing great. Alright, so the last gun in this episode is going to be the SR3M. I started with 1,496 kills on this, and the setup I used was reflex sight, compensator, stubby grip, and the extended mag. So the SR3M is, honestly, in my opinion, definitely a top tier gun. It's basically kind of just an AS Val, except it has a bit better reload and slightly more recoil in terms of like, you know, camera recoil. And the great thing about this gun is that it fires at 900 RPM and offers a 3-shot. Like, that's actually really good. So it does make it probably one of the best CQC guns in the carbine category. On the other hand though, like I said, the camera recoil makes it a little bit hard to use at longer ranges, and it does have kind of a long reload due to the extended mag. I mean, you could take off the extended mag for a better reload, but then you only have 20 bullets, which isn't a lot, so I wouldn't really recommend it. But either way, the gun is very good, fun to use, and honestly great for CQC. 8 out of 10 for me on the fun scale. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up the carbines for today. Like I said, the next video will explore the rest of the carbines. Hopefully that'll be out soon. I'm sticking to pretty much once every 2 weeks for one of these episodes, so hopefully we can get it out in 2 weeks. But like I said, these videos take about 10 hours to make, and I don't have 10 hours usually, so it's definitely more of a process, but I hope it's definitely worth it for you guys. I think a lot of you guys enjoy these videos, and I do enjoy making them. So if you do want to support the series, like I said, please leave a like, and honestly, just help me hit the algorithm, please. Anyways, that's going to be it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.